You laughed normally in the conversation, then replayed it like a crime scene alone later. Yeah. The weird part is, while everyone else moved on with their day, your brain stayed there, reanalyzing your tone, their expression, that 2-second pause before they replied. You start wondering if you sounded annoying, too quiet, too intense, too awkward, and suddenly a completely normal interaction feels dangerous. That's what overthinking conversations actually is. Not thinking too much. Threat detection. Your brain scanning social situations the same way other people scan dark alleys, and honestly, that's the scary part, because most people don't even realize it's happening. They just call themselves awkward, or socially anxious, or bad at talking, but usually it goes deeper than that. Way deeper. Because people who overthink conversations aren't obsessed with words, they're obsessed with consequences. That's why one tiny text can ruin your mood for hours. A dry reply, a delayed response, a message with slightly different energy. Your brain notices everything. Not because you're dramatic, because somewhere along the way, your nervous system learned that emotional safety could disappear suddenly. So now your mind rehearses pain before it happens, like a bodyguard that never sleeps, and the worst part, it starts changing your personality without you noticing. You become quieter, more filtered, less spontaneous. You type a message, rewrite it 5 times, then delete it completely. Not because you had nothing to say, because your brain became addicted to avoiding social mistakes. Think about that for a second. You can slowly lose your real personality just trying to avoid rejection, and people around you usually never see this part. They just see someone calm, reserved maybe, but internally, constant noise. You replay conversations while showering, while trying to sleep, while doom scrolling at 2 a.m., pretending not to think about it. Your body leaves the moment. Your brain doesn't. And this is where it becomes dangerous, because overthinking doesn't only affect conversations, it affects connection itself. You start craving relationships while simultaneously hiding inside them. You want closeness. But the second someone gets emotionally near you, your brain starts monitoring everything. How should I respond? Was that too much? What if they lose interest? What if I ruin this? So instead of experiencing connection, you perform it. Carefully, strategically, exhaustingly, and eventually you get mentally tired from being perceived at all. That's why some people isolate themselves after social interaction, not because they hate people, because their brain treated the interaction like a survival task. Most people would react the same way if their nervous system stayed stuck in prediction mode long enough. And usually, this pattern starts earlier than people think. Sometimes from growing up around emotional unpredictability, where moods changed fast, reactions felt random, love felt inconsistent, so your brain adapted. You learned to study tones, facial expressions, energy shifts. You became emotionally hyper-aware because it once protected you. That's important. Your brain had a reason for becoming this way. You didn't consciously choose it. But here's the weird part nobody talks about. The brain doesn't care whether a pattern makes you happy, only whether it makes you survive. So even when life becomes safer, your mind still acts like something bad is about to happen socially. That's why calm conversations can still feel stressful. Your body remembers old emotional environments even when your conscious mind moves on, and people who experience this young usually notice something else too. Compliments feel suspicious, silence feels threatening, and being left on red feels way more painful than it should. Not because you're weak, because your brain connected uncertainty with emotional danger. So now every conversation feels like a test you could fail, and eventually, you stop feeling present around people altogether. You start watching yourself while talking, monitoring yourself, editing yourself in real time. That's why overthinkers are often mentally exhausted after completely ordinary interactions. Their brain wasn't just talking, it was calculating, predicting, preventing. The mind can only stay in defense mode for so long before it starts disconnecting emotionally. That's where the numbness comes from, not laziness, not lack of emotion. Cognitive overload, too many tabs open in the brain for too long, and honestly, some of the kindest people you'll ever meet are secretly trapped in this cycle. Because people who overthink emotions usually care deeply, maybe too deeply. They notice small shifts, small changes, small wounds, even the ones nobody else sees. But eventually, you reach a point where you realize something uncomfortable. Your thoughts are not protecting your relationships anymore. They're replacing them. Because real connection cannot survive constant mental surveillance. At some point, you have to stop interviewing every interaction like it's evidence in a courtroom. You have to let moments exist without dissecting them afterward. And yeah, that feels terrifying at first because uncertainty feels unsafe to a brain trained to predict pain, but healing usually starts there, in the moments where you resist the urge to mentally rewind everything, where you stop treating every silence like rejection, where you slowly realize most people are too busy worrying about themselves to analyze you the way you analyze yourself. And maybe this hits hard because part of you already knew that. You were just too mentally exhausted to believe it. So now, when the conversation ends, and your brain tries replaying every detail again tonight, notice it. Not with shame, just awareness. Because this version of you was built for survival. But Surviva L and peace are not the same thing, and some people spend their whole lives confusing the two. Maybe that's why your mind never feels quiet.